Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It is time for the second round of the Season 19 V8 Veterans Championship presented by RaceKraft Simulations. What a long history this championship has had so far for drivers over 40 years of age. And the history continues here in 2024. We had an absolute banger of a finish last round, and we're looking to do the same here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, the circuit that plays host to the 24 Hours of Le Mans every year. Certainly going to be an interesting combo in Australian touring car muscle. Bringing it to you all live here on SimSpeed TV. It's me, Reese Gardner. First time I'm in for a V8 Vets broadcast, but you guys know Brady Baldwin, longtime commentator of the series as well. Dan Yeaman is behind the producers' dials and buttons, bringing you all of these live pictures. Brady, I'm looking forward to this. V8 Vets is always something that's been on my periphery. This is the first time I'm seeing this series in action.
You've been missing out, Reese. I've been lucky to do a couple of seasons of this series, and it always provides some fantastic action no matter where we go. And today we're in France at Le Mans, which is not a regular supercar track whatsoever. It's going to be very, very interesting how drivers tackle this course as we zoom in on this historic circuit. You can barely see it through all the landscaping around this circuit. 33 corners, 13.62 kilometers this layout been used since the year 2000. Obviously the track opened in 1920, obviously without those chicanes along the Mulsanne Straight. So a lot of challenges will be faced by these drivers tonight, Reese.
Yeah, for sure. Largely, it's going to be all about slipstreaming, we're figuring, because 600 plus horsepower being put down to the ground in these machines. You end up reaching 300 k's an hour plus twice over the course of the lap. And even in the slightly shorter straights, you're edging 290 or thereabouts. So, man, it's going to be interesting to see what kinds of speeds these drivers get up to. But we also have to be careful of the Porsche curves up at the top of the screen there. Very fast corners. Now, these cars, they do produce most of their grip mechanically, but there's enough aerodynamic sensitivity on these things that the drivers could be facing some aero push through those quicker parts of the lap.
I 100% agree, especially if you're following someone through those Porsche curves. You're going to be gathering a lot of understeer through that whole section, even through the Corvette curves as well. So the back half of the lap is going to be very, very difficult for these drivers. The first half of the lap, really, you go through 1 and 2, pretty simple chicane, then through the S's, and then down the Mulsanne Straight times 2, and then obviously get to turn 15, the Mulsanne corner, then another long run to 19 at Indianapolis. So very difficult for these drivers to work out. Obviously, lots of straights and then a very, very technical final sector.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's the circuit. That's the lay of the land in the most literal sense. Who's going to come out on top in the race? There's 42 drivers in this server right now, and this is how things are going to go down in the race. It's 19 laps, nearly 260 kilometers of racing. You have to complete 15 laps to get the 75% minimum distance to score points. Starting fuel capped at 80 liters, but you can fill it up all the way. And we've got another graphic queued up we'll talk about in a moment. There's a lot of variation on potential pit strategy here. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how drivers tackle those 2 pit stops. The compulsory pit stop window opening at the end of lap 2. And essentially, Brady, there's a few ways you can go about this. You can split the race in 3 quite evenly, or you could potentially take your 2 pit stops right at the very start of the race. There's it's certainly I mean, the mental games here. What drivers have worked out, we have no idea, but this is a basic breakdown of what we might expect.
Yeah, I always love the graphs that Dan produces for us pre-race. I have no idea what I'm looking at, but it's a lot to take in. Obviously, like you said, You can do that early stop around lap 2 and then potentially go to about lap 8 or 9 and go longer in the last stint, but also fuel saving. If you're in a draft, you're going to be saving a lot of fuel in the draft. So we're thinking tank range for a full tank after the first stop, about 10.5 to 11 laps. You can potentially get that an extra lap to 12. An extra lap at a smaller track really doesn't make much of a difference, but a track like this, it certainly will. So we might see guys potentially staying in a draft on purpose to try and save fuel, get an extra lap, and take a little bit less fuel than the guys that they are racing. So it's going to be a lot playing out tonight.
Yeah, plenty playing out indeed. I think if you're further down in the field, maybe you work with drivers around you and go for the earlier pit stops, but I would expect the drivers at the very front of the field potentially going a little bit later. We might see a few behind the leaders pitting a little bit early because there'll still be potential for traffic when they come out, and usually that's a bad thing, having traffic in front of you. But at a track like this, where the straights are so long, where the slipstream's so beneficial, gives you a chance to save fuel and extra pace, you might want to come out with cars ahead of you.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad strategy whatsoever. I think clean air around here is probably actually going to be pretty detrimental to your race. So it'll be interesting how drivers work that out throughout the race and see who wants to work together and who doesn't want to work together throughout the race. So certainly a lot to play in this one. Race is going to keep us on our toes for the whole 19 laps.
Even stints often are strong from previous history. We're getting some info fed to us now, so I'll be curious to see who, if any, rocks the boat. There's something else special for this race. This being such a long circuit, there's a bit of a one-off format when it comes to safety cars. There's going to be a virtual safety car procedure, so we'll keep our ears peeled in sim. If there's a big enough incident out on track and everyone needs to slow down, Race Control's going to call a virtual safety car, get all drivers to slow down to 110 k's an hour, and then the race leader will have to engage the pit speed limiter, slow down to 60, and then let the drivers behind catch up. And then at whatever point Race Control deems it safe, then off comes the pit limiter, and we will be back to racing.
I think that's a very good call from the admin team behind this series. Obviously, using even a manual safety car, especially at a track like this, will lose quite a lot of time, especially being about a 4-minute lap time. So, and that's at race pace, let alone under safety car. So I think that's a really good call and another element added to this race that should make it very, very interesting. Hopefully we don't get one, but I'm curious to see how it will work if we do.
Yeah, I am too. Plenty to come here as we're reaching the end of the qualifying session. Everyone, almost everyone, has done their qualifying laps. We've had 39 of the 42 drivers make their way in and around the lap, setting some very good lap times. Round about the mark that we'd see some of the fastest GTs race around Le Mans in the real world. A lot to come from here, but yeah, now all we got to do is wait a few more minutes and we can get this night of racing going. We'll go through the full grid when the time comes, but I want to mention that Darren Lobb is looking incredibly fast. Lobb and Gamble were battling very hard over the course of the first round of the season, and it seems like it's going to be between them for the championship. Look at that, only 1 point separating them. Kenneth Latter, who was a contender for the championship last season, only a further 6 points behind. Things still very close here at the start of the season.
Yeah, not much between them whatsoever. And obviously you see the Fishy Motorsport tied there for 8th position. Obviously you can get some bonus points for fastest lap and 0Xs as well. So the points are very, very closely said. We've only done one round. Scotty Gamble got the win last time out. And obviously last season was a fantastic battle for the championship between Kenny Latter and Michael Taliancic. I believe Taliancic is not in attendance tonight, but Kenny Latter sure is, and he's right there in the hunt already in the championship. Brendan Nishka, very impressive, 4th in the points with Blake Delaney in 5th. So 5 Fishy Motorsport cars in the top 10, very impressive feat for that team.
Yeah, Fishy Motorsports has been on the up and up for quite some time. I've commentated a lot on their exploits in V8 Scops, for example, but this is going to be among the first times me seeing them in another V8 league. Let's see if they have anything for the drivers at the top of the field in this round. For now, though, 9.5 SimSports and DPR are at the very top of this field. Well, we're in warm-up now. We can see cars going around the circuit, getting their final preparations in for the 19 laps to come. Such a long lap around this place. I'm looking forward to seeing what kinds of speeds the guys will be reaching at the ends of these straights.
Yeah, it's going to be remarkable speeds as we go through the grid now. Darren Lobb on pole position by 0.7 of a second, which realistically around a 3-minute 53 lap time probably isn't really that much. But Scotty Gamble, so 1 and 2 in the points, 1 and 2 from last week, will start on the front row here tonight. Chris Miller will start from position number 3 with Jess Thomas starting from position number 4. Luke Grundell and Matt Vanderkraan will share the third row. I got told Luke Grundell made his Vets debut last week and was very impressive, so the 057 will be one to keep an eye out on. The Halls, Dean Hall and Stewie Hall will share row number 4. Michael Stewart and Paul Warwick, they will start 9th and 10th on the grid. Dave Kirby, a veteran, will start from position number 11 with Scott McKay starting from position number 12. Another Fishy Motorsport driver, Michael Whiting, will start from 13th, and alongside him the ERT machine of Chad Lewis. Greg Sharp and David Nash, they will share row number 8. Row number 9 will be Dan Flavell and Damien Cairns, and rounding out the top 20 will be John Latham and Robert Griffiths.
Starting out of 21st place, we got Troy Stone Street. He's got Brenton O'Brien, the leader of Evolution Racing Team, for very close company there. Only a 10th between them. Jamie McKnight going to start out of 27th for 23rd for Fishy Motorsports. Sorry, got numbers confused there. Craig Friend starting the 696 out of 24th. In 25th, we have Damian Cross for Pacific Esports Racing. Scotty Van Loon for WKNP starts in 26th position. The 14th row of the grid is interesting. We got Chris Blanchard and 3rd place in the championship, Kenneth Latta. He's way further down than he wants to be to try and contend with Lobb and Gamble at the front of the field. Jason Fewens will start out of 29th place. Then we have Scott McCune for Hypersonic Racing starting out of 30th. Michael Quain is going to start alongside Rick Sebra on the 16th row of the grid. The 17th row will be Stephen Varga and Rob Crisdale, two very long-time V8 competitors. Chad Vigor starting out of 35th place alongside Paul Burns. And then we have Darren Goosey and Jason Spriggs, 37th and 38th. Row 20 will be Damon Fisher, last driver to set a qualifying time, and Blake Delaney for Fishy Motorsports, who couldn't get a time in. The same is true for everyone else behind. Mark Poynton starting out of 41st, with Matt Scholes starting out of 42nd. 43rd will be Michael Yo, and then we have Ricky Hyde, Travis Hunt, and Dean Logsdale to round out a very stacked, very competitive, quite numerous V8 veterans field, Brady.
46 drivers on the grid's quite remarkable, and probably a good track to have such a big field, being over 13 kilometers in length as we finish up the warm-up race. I'm really looking forward to this race, as we got a few guys on Zoom tonight. Top left is Travis Hunt. Below him will be Jeff Thomas. On the bottom will be Chad Lewis. Top right, David Kirby and Michael Stewart as well. In looks like a real race car, so he's got a nice little green screen effect there, Michael Stewart. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. That's very good. Can't imagine that if you put a VR headset on a real race car, they'd let you out on track. But hey, it's all about immersion, and certainly helps the broadcast immersion as well. But I mean, I'm amazed at the kit that a lot of these guys have. Pretty much all of them, apart from Michael Stewart, running at least 3 screens, and they've got some very serious gear in front of them there. I wouldn't mind asking a couple of these guys where they get their rims from, because I could certainly use something like David Kirby's there.
Yeah, I know Dave recently upgraded all these sim rigs, so pretty new setup for him. Obviously, it looks like Travis and Michael in VR as well, which is very interesting. So I wouldn't say Michael would be on triple screens, and so would Travis. They'll be on a single screen with the VR. So very immersive for those drivers, as we only have about 2 minutes until we go green race. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. 3-minute grid hold. But we will remind you all of what's in store for this round. 19 laps, got to complete 15 laps to score points. And the typical fuel burn being about 10 to 10.5 liters a lap. Man, I know that these cars are powerful V8s that are quite thirsty, but still those numbers boggle my mind. That's the average fuel consumption for a Commodore or Falcon on the road about 10 years ago. So, yeah, 2 pit stops will be required, and it doesn't matter whether or not they're compulsory in the rules or not. You are going to have to stop twice no matter what you do. 110 to 120 liters at the very least, a big fill and a splash and dash, but of course the fuel is capped to 80 liters at the very start. The most we're going to see is about 8 laps from drivers before they have to pit for the first time. So who is going to blink first? We also have a prize for the driver of the day, getting a little something from Chubby Buns Burgers. We will be presenting the driver of the day award at the very end of the broadcast. Good to see that we have more leagues getting on board with that.
It's already making me hungry too, Raze. That's probably not a good thing whatsoever, but very cool to see Chubby Buns Burgers sponsoring and supporting the VA veterans with the driver of the day. So we'll have a lot to think about as we end the race here tonight. We're about 10 seconds from going green race. Scotty Gamble and Darren Lobb off the front row.
Indeed, staggered field at Le Mans here. Massive wide front straight here. Certainly wasn't that wide when the track first opened. Wasn't even sealed in the early 1920s. This is a very historic track. So many stories have been told around this place. And the next story to be told around the Circuit de la Sarthe begins momentarily as the revs rise. Darren Lobb on pole position in the DPR Mustang with the 95 SimSports Commodore alongside him. Who gets the best start? We're away and we're racing. Looks like Gamble and Lobb are pretty even. I noticed a good jump off the line from Stewie Hall back in 8th place. Dan Hall already making up a position on Jeff Thomas. Dan trying to give him some space there on the inside as they come at a Dunlop curve for the very first time. You can use a lot of the curbs around here, and around goes Stewie Hall.
There goes Stewie Hall, one of the super cheap auto WKMP cars around the background as well. Looks like Jamie McKnight off. There's about 5 or 6 cars run around at the first corner. Looks like Stewie Hall might have damage. He's already called into race control, so he might already see a virtual safety car early on lap number 1.
Yeah, this is a pretty massive incident at the back of the field, and it's hard pressed to see who exactly is involved, but these drivers now making their way through the S's as they get up to speed. The front runners, meanwhile, already on the Mulsanne Straight and already approaching 300 kilometers per hour. There's 300 hit by Darren Lobb as giving chase is Gamble, Funky Miller, Luke Grundell, and Dan Hall. The top 5 breaking away from the rest of the field. Darren Lobb is looking quick here on lap 1. He wants to get as much of a gap as he can. Still no sign of a virtual safety car or anything of that nature. But look at the jostling in the pack as they make their way through the first of the 2 Mulsanne chicanes.
Again, confirms Stewie Hall did get his car going once again, so looks like we will be safe. Looks like Chris Miller's actually got a slowdown. So he's dropping right down the order. He was up in the top 4 at the start. He's falling right down the field. It's going to be hurting him. He's finally getting back up to speed right now as they enter turn 12 and 13, the second chicane. I actually seen Greg Sharp I was on board with, 308 kilometers an hour heading into the first chicane. Absolutely remarkable speed for these drivers. And another slowdown looks like in front. It's Paul Warwick, I believe, as well. No, Matt Vanderkrant, has a slowdown as well. So a lot of these guys getting caught out with the chicanes early on in this race.
Yeah, it's a shame about Chris Miller. He was obviously qualified third, so he had a lot to play for here, but we'll keep our eyes out as looks like so many cars here making the server have a couple of issues even as we make our way on the run down to Indianapolis. Slowdowns are such a defining factor of sim racing here at Le Mans. You've got to be careful to keep all of your wheels on the racing surface. Damon Fisher with a bit of damage and looking very slow. I think he was one of the drivers who was involved in the turns 1, 2 and 3 smash. Got a mechanical black flag for his troubles. There's one other driver with a mechanical black flag, and that is Blake Delaney. So unfortunate for those two, but they will still have a chance to come back. They'll be hoping for a virtual safety car to allow them to get back up to the place they want to be in this very big field.
Well, the problem for them is if they want to do a compulsory pit stop and also take that one fast repair, as Delaney goes around once again. Unfortunately, it looks like he got just a bit of a rear compression lock and spun around. But if they want to take that fast repair and also clear a compulsory pit stop, they've got to go around one more lap because they cannot pit on the first lap. They've got to wait to the end of lap number 2. So that's definitely going to hurt guys like Delaney and Fisher carrying massive damage and really slow on the straightaways. They can't really do much at the moment. So their races are very, very compromised already before we even end lap number 1.
Out of Maison Blanche into the final chicanes here, the Ford chicane, the final complex on this track. And Darren Lobb already facing off against Scott Gamble, who tried to have a dive up the inside of the second last corner. It didn't work for him, and Lobb gets the advantage on the exit. Lap 1 is complete, and Darren Lobb is in the lead by half a second and growing, but you need to be more than about 1.5 seconds ahead of the car behind for the slipstream to not matter. So Lobb is nowhere near out of the woods yet.
I spoke pre-race about Luke Grundell, that he was very impressive round 1 at Laguna Seca. He's already impressing so far tonight. He's already up to position number 3 and right on the back of Lobb and Gamble, 2 very experienced campaigners in this series and 2 of the fastest drivers in this series. Luke Grundell very impressive so far, and so is Dan Hall. He's up 3 spots. Chad Lewis, he's the RT teammate. He's gone from 14th to 6th on the opening lap, so he's +8 already. So a few big movers already in this race. On board with the 057, the SLS racing machine of Luke Grundell in behind Scotty Gamble as they make the run to turn number 11, the first chicane. You see Gamble lining up Darren Lobb, potentially to have a move around the outside. He's got the slipstream. He's going to get to the lead as we head to turn number 11.
Did you see that? Lobb lifted. He lifted out of the throttle and allowed Scotty Gamble by. Very tactical maneuver from the driver who started on pole position. I think he's already looking to try and save a bit of fuel.
I think 100% that's a definite strategical move there from Darren Lobb. Save a little bit of fuel now. Let Gamble lead. Let him burn his tyres up. Let him burn all his fuel, and he'll come back to him later in this race. As long as Lobb stays within touching distance, he should be okay. But now he's got to watch out for the 057 of Luke Grundell because he's not far away either.
Line astern on the way into the second Mulsanne chicane. Lobb following another car for the first time this race. He's got to try and nail these exits. Otherwise, he'll be in big trouble from the 2 Commodores behind. Seems like the Commodore's a very popular car choice at the front of this field. Update on most positions gained. You see positions gained and lost there on the timing tower. The most positions gained in the field is Ricky Hyde. He's up to 32nd place. That's a gain of 12 spots. Incredible job from Ricky Hyde here right at the start.
Well, he started right down the back of the order in 44th, so massive positions gained. He stayed clear of all the carnage on the first lap. There's a massive battle pack here. There's smoke at turn number 15, Reese. There's something that's going on. You see the aftermath over there. Another one of the WKMP cars, Troy Stone Street, has had an off there at the turn number 15, the Mulsanne corner. So we might try and pick up a replay of that, but he's got massive damage to the front of that race car.
It was contact between the teammates, it looks like. Chris Blanchard turned him around. That's a big shame. And he was turned around and got absolutely pummeled by Stephen Varga as he came through. Mechanical black flag for Troy Stone Street. Absolute disaster for WKNP at the start of this second round of the 19th season. Oh, there's more going on down at Indianapolis. I've seen a car go for a big slide. I'm not sure who it was. Oh my God, Blanchard around again, this time at Arnage corner. Absolute chaos here in just the first 2 laps.
lot of guys collecting damage from this. We'll try and pick up what happened to Blanchard. It was actually contact with Chad Vigor coming into Indianapolis. Unfortunately, it looks like Blanchard tried to spin the car around and made the situation just a little bit worse for himself, placed in a very vulnerable position. It looks like he is going again. There's a VSC call. One of the WKMP cars was pulled up on the side of the road. It was Troy Stone Street. So now the field is already compressed. So I'm trying to get back to Darren Lobb. He's now slowed down to 110. There might be a little bit of confusion with this. Where's Scott Gamble? Oh no, sorry, he's in the lead. My apologies.
And he's still accelerating. It looks like some technical issues for him. Uh-oh. Has Scott Gamble just dropped from... Oh, okay, he's back. He's back in the server, but I don't think he's hearing the race control calls. Everyone else has slowed down. He's blinking. Okay, now he's slowed down. But he's disappearing.
I think he's going to drop out because he's quality. If you're an iRacing nerd, his quality is 45. You want that about 99. Ooh, so his internet quality is not very good. It's dropping to 35. I think Scott Gamble is going to be gone in about 30 seconds time. He'll be dropping out of the server. A lot of the guys in pit lane as well, taking advantage of the virtual safety car. I just had a look, worrying about Scott Gamble. I think about half of the field has gone in pit lane race.
Yeah, and it's rapidly approaching 2/3 to 3/4 of the field making their way into the pit lane. And I think good idea for a lot of people to do this now, even if you don't have damage, give you a chance to put some extra fuel in the tank and potentially save more fuel on the way out. We'll have to see how this affects strategy later on. Darren Lobb officially now the race leader, as Scott Gamble has shown no signs of returning. That's disastrous for Scott Gamble. Only a point behind Darren Lobb in the standings, and man, to have that happen at round 2, I mean, how would you be if you were in Scott Gamble's position?
You'd be very, very frustrated. But one thing I'm thinking about, Reese, you think about in the real world, especially in Formula 1, when there's a virtual safety car and you pit, you gain a massive advantage if you take a pit stop under virtual safety car. So all these guys that have taken their pit stop under this virtual safety car are going to make a massive gain compared to the guys that have not pitted. I believe the leader of the guys that have pitted is Paul Warwick. He's in position number 9. He's only 6 seconds away from the lead, and he's already taken his pit stop. So this is going to be a massive advantage for those guys that have taken this pit stop.
Yeah, certainly would. This is very intriguing. This is something that I haven't seen very much of in sim racing, virtual safety cars. But 23 seconds stop for him. That looks right on the money for what we've seen from most of the drivers here. The longest pit stop I've seen is John Latham. He was stopped for 44 seconds. Now, I'm not sure what the idea behind that is. I do know that at the very least Rob Crisdale would have had to get some damage repaired because he spent 1 minute and 2 seconds stopped in the lane. So wait to see what happens for these drivers once we get back to green flag racing. WKMP 669, meanwhile, that's Chris Blanchard, having had a couple of spins and a bit of biff and barge around the first 2 laps. Also one of the drivers that has already taken a pit stop. Interesting to note that Travis Hunt, I'm noticing, has not taken a stop, but I'm not sure what happened to him. He was way down the field. I think that he might have had, pit lane start, sorry, for Travis Hunt. My apologies. So that's the reason why he's as far down as he is and hasn't taken a stop yet.
One thing I'm thinking about, Race, that I think whatever result we get tonight will be very provisional, because I could imagine the admins and race control will have to look over this race, and especially this virtual safety car period, with the fine-tooth comb to see if anyone has exceeded the speeds and maybe gained an advantage that they shouldn't have. So I love the idea of this virtual safety car, but it's going to be very much policed post-race, I would assume.
Yeah, I think it will be. But good news if you're a Scott Gamble fan. He's made it back out onto the circuit, and he is on the lead lap. That is the big advantage of racing at a circuit as long as Le Mans. With this virtual safety car, Gamble's been able to reconnect to the server, get out of the pits, and rejoin at the tail end of the field. Now, I know that Gamble is one of the quickest drivers in this series. Expect him to be making some big moves once we go back to green flag.
Yeah, I'm noticing that Darren Lobb's been changing his speed quality. He's now back down to 60 kilometers an hour. And now Paul Warwick's, the guys that have pitted are very well caught up. I've seen Darren Lobb's been changing his speed quite a lot, so I'm not sure if that's confusion or that's planned from race control. I'm not 100% sure quite yet. So yeah, we're just getting told that Darren's meant to be at 60 for the whole time, where he's been fluctuating a little bit of speed. I think he's only really hurt himself in the end race because everyone else is caught up. It looks like we're about to go green flag racing once again.
Yeah, so the speed increases to 80 k's an hour when you're preparing to go back to green flag. Then we wait for the countdown from race control, and we can get back to racing. Yeah, it looks like it'll be coming in about 10 seconds time, so drivers have to prepare. This is well timed for Darren Lobb. It's right at the apex of there he goes. Mulsanne corner, and away he goes. Green flag. Once again, virtual safety car is over. Darren Lobb continues to lead the way here in V8 Veterans at Circuit de la Sarthe. Scott Gamble down in 41st place will be looking to make moves very quickly and try and get back up to at least the top 20 before this race concludes. But look at how close everyone is at the very front of this. Darren Lobb, well, he's got no defense now. He won't be able to slipstream off Scott Gamble here. He's leading the way once more, and he's got a bunch of very hungry drivers behind.
One thing we'll have to keep an eye on now, Reese, that everyone behind Paul Warwick, or pretty much everyone behind Paul Warwick, has now made that pit stop. So the top 8 guys are a fair disadvantage, in my opinion, not having taken that pit stop. I think the safety car was called pretty late on in the lap for those guys. So if you're Darren Lobb, you're going to have to push 110%, try and build a gap, and then try and make it up later on, because he's definitely going to be a bit buried after that first round of pit stops.
Yeah, but remember what we talked about at the start of the show. It might not be the worst thing to come out in traffic, because then you can use them to slipstream, save a bit of fuel yourself. Obviously not as much fuel as would be saved by taking a pit stop under VSC, but there's still possibility for Darren Lobb to have a good race out of this. Paul Warwick, leader of the cars that have pitted. He's being chased down by Chad Lewis at the moment, and they've fallen off the back of the front pack a little bit. Jason Spriggs is the next car ahead. He's got some time to make up.
Yeah, he certainly does. Spriggs just fallen off the back of Jeff Thomas just a little bit, then another small gap back to Burns and Flavelle. So that's your top 8 that has stayed out under that safety car. You can see Paul Burns and Spriggs there up nearly 30 spots, or 32 spots for Jason Briggs. So it looks like Warwick gets the move down the inside of Briggs at turn number 2, getting those drivers confused. Gets the move done. He's now up to position number 8.
Indeed. Chad Lewis completing the move on the Mustang, coming into the S's. Looking back here from Paul Burns, currently 7th on the road, and they're already starting to swallow up the drivers who didn't pit. Of course, these cars notorious for having tyres that are very strong at the start of ascent, but after, well, it's about 10 to 15 laps on a normal circuit. I'd say probably about 7 to 8 laps around Circuit de la Sarthe is when we're going to start seeing the drop-off in pace, but I think some drivers are already starting to feel the pain.
Yeah, I think some of the guys that haven't pitted might be feeling a little bit of wear on those sides. David Nash goes down the inside of Flavelle at the first chicane. We'll get that move done. So it looks like Flavelle struggling just a little bit on these older tyres, getting slowed a little bit by guys on the fresher tyres. It's pretty close down the background race on the exit of that first chicane.
Yeah, we've got a driver taken to the runoff area, and it is Stephen Varga. He locked up on the way into the chicane and had to go through the tyre bundles. There is an opening in those tyre bundles for you to make your way through, and he has to serve that slowdown. Oh, a little bit of slipstream opportunity, thought Michael Quain, but that car's too slow to really gain much of an advantage. So hopefully by now the slowdown has been served. Rob Crisdale in this pack right now, and a little bit of contact there, potentially losing the rear. Darren Goosey made contact coming into the chicane there, and Stewie Hall, who we saw spun at the very first corners, is at the head of the pack and trying to jet away.
Well, Stewie Hall started in position number 8, obviously caught up in lap number 1 incident, so he's down the field, and so is Scott Gamble, and importantly, Gamble did not lose a lap. In a 13-kilometre track, he stayed on the lead lap, so now he can fight towards the front of the field. Another virtual safety car will play into his hands massively. If he can get past a few 5 or 10 cars, get another safety car, he might be within a share as Goosey runs wide there at turn number 15.
Looks like Damien Cross might have done the same thing. I saw him falling down the order. Cross is now fighting with Travis Hunt and Mark Poynton on the way into Indianapolis. Speaking of, this is the Indianapolis corner. The Super Cheap Auto WK&P Mustang here trying to stay ahead as Dean Flavelle is dealing with the negatives of not taking the pit stop under VSC. It's looking quite interesting up ahead as well. Paul Burns and Chad Lewis have caught up to Paul Warwick, and they are fighting hard here for what is now 7th position. Don't make it 3 wide on the way into the Porsche curves. Just slipping in behind is Paul Burns. Might have been a bit of a rub to the bumper of Chad Lewis.
Yeah, Warwick and Lewis just got the move done on Paul Burns, who, remember, stayed out and he's on older tyres, and we get a message through. Drive-through penalty for Chris Blanchard for contact on lap number 2. I believe that would have been with his teammate Troy Stone Street that did bring out that virtual safety car. So drive-through penalty for the 669 as Paul Burns still under pressure from now David Nash coming into the last few corners race.
Yep, slow down we're hearing on the exit of Corvette Curve for a driver. Couldn't quite catch who. For Burns. That's unfortunate there for Paul Burns, and he's still having to serve that slowdown on the exit of the final couple of corners. You've got to be very careful at the exit of the Porsche curves. If you're not back on track by the time the curve ends, then that is a slowdown for you, and you have to deal with that. Meanwhile, the top 3 still fighting, with Darren Lobb starting to gain a little bit. He's put some space between himself and Luke Grundell, and now Dan Hall here has got the fastest lap of the race so far, 3/10 faster than Lobb and Grundell. Saw some positions lost further down the field. I think that's in the big battle pack from 17th to 32nd. But aside from that, Dan Hall is the chaser right now.
One thing with this track race is lots of battle packs forming already off this restart. With the field compressed, there's a lot of tight battle packs throughout the field, as we see coming off the Tetre Rouge onto the first of the straights. Craig Friend in position number 28. He's in a fierce battle pack here with that's Jason Fewens on his inside, so they're battling for 28th and 29th. Fewens will be on the inside for the first chicane, and behind them Damien Cairns as well, so Damien Cairns might buy in on the action here with his teammate as they come to the chicane. Looks like Fewens will rock it up. Will he get it pulled up? Lucky to stay at the scene there, but I think Fewens will have a slowdown from that, and he does not by the looks of it. So he does. Apologies. So he's got to slow down. Craig Friend's also got to slow down as well. There's another car up for 57. The 57.
Michael Quain. That's heavy damage, and Mark Poynton for Frog Leap Juice Racing also stopped. VSC has been called once again, so everyone's got to compress now. Darren Lobb has to take another break from leading this race. So these are 2 separate incidents we're hearing. Poynton stopped there at Maison Blanche, and meanwhile Quain is stopped at pit entry, and there's very heavy damage to the number 57. I'm not too sure what's going on for him there, but it couldn't have been good.
Surely these guys out in front will now take their pit stop. You'd have to under this virtual safety car. You won't lose as much time. They'll still be buried in the field, but they won't lose as much time as what they would under Green Flag Racing. So, a lot to play out.
Yeah, so Poynton and Quain did come together. Quain, it was all the way back at Arnage, for the benefit of Dan Yeaman, our broadcast director. Quain blew the engine, and that was because of contact with the 29 of Mark Poynton. Poynton spun on the exit of Arnage corner. This is where it happened. So, a little bit of contact. He was helped around there, but then through will come Quain and just whack him.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be surprised if Poynton might get a little bit of trouble for that, for not holding the brakes getting spun out. But we'll have to see what race control decide for that incident. But unfortunately for him anyway, he is out of this race and will take no further part. This is on board with Travis Hunt, who's way down the field compared to what we're used to seeing. So he is in behind the Frog Leap car, and looks like Poynton got a little bit of loose on the exit, and maybe just a little bit of a helping hand from Hunt to finish him off.
Yeah, looks like it. If I was in Travis Hunt's position, I don't think I would have been able to do much differently there, but he left behind the scene of the chaos. Just a puff of smoke in his mirrors at that point. But the cars are back in the pits. Poynton and Quain both now hopefully getting some repairs done, and we'll hopefully see them back out on track very shortly. But now Darren Lobb will just maintain 60 k's an hour, allow the rest of the field to catch back up, and we'll see how long this VSC lasts. It should be around about half a lap from when it was called.
Well, he's only going through Indianapolis now and onto the Arnage corner, so he's good. Still a fair way to go to get to the pit lane, especially going 60 kilometers an hour. It seems like it's taking forever. So we're just trying to listen to race control at the moment. It doesn't look like we're going green anytime soon. So if I was Darren Lobb, I'd be hoping the VSC lasts until he can get to the pit lane, make that stop, and not lose as much time. So we'll be very interested to see when we go green flag racing, whether it's going to hurt Darren Lobb even more and might play into his hands just a little bit.
There was an incident under VSC as well that I spied. John Latham, on the run up to Indianapolis, there was a check up ahead, and he ended up getting clobbered by Michael Stewart. So Latham spun. He has resumed his position in the queue, but yeah, there may be potential race control investigation coming Michael Stewart's way for his role in turning John Latham around a few moments ago. It looked like pretty heavy rear-end contact.
Yeah, it's extremely unlucky to happen under safety car as well. We'll get pictures of it. The servers aren't really playing nice with us tonight, especially with 46 cars in this track. Looks like Travis Hunt, was he already missing his rear wing, Travis Hunt? No, surely wasn't contact from that.
No, maybe. Not sure.
So Latham's pushing down the inside, passing cars by the looks?
Yeah, this is after he was turned.
Okay.
He's resuming his position in the queue right there. So
Oh,
yeah,
there we go.
that's where it happened. It was a little bit further back than we expected. So there's the check up ahead. Latham slows down, and then Michael Stewart's like, oh dear.
Oh, it was like Stewart accelerated, which was very odd. It might have just been Latham slowed down so much, but
yeah, he jumped on the brakes pretty hard.
Yeah, so very interesting. Something you don't really see too often. We don't really have virtual safety car situations like this ever. So yeah, it looks like he just went to dart left to avoid Latham, and unfortunately just tagged him. Doesn't look like too much damage on the front of Michael Stewart's car. So very interesting things happening under the safety car race. We're still under the virtual safety car. Darren Lobb is now coming through the Porsche curve, so about turn 24, 25 region. So we're not too far away from the pit lane. We're just waiting. Race control is now calling. We're going to be going green very, very shortly. So this is worst timing for Darren Lobb. He's off the pit lane limiter, so in a few seconds we're about to go green. He's gone green right now, Reese. Will he dart straight into the pits?
That is the question. It's lap 5 right now, and he hinted at it, but he's just widening the entry into the final chicane. Oh yeah, hello, there we go. Miller decides, yes, I will go in. Same goes for Jason Spriggs, and I'm seeing another car making their way into Paul Burns. So There's plenty of drivers further back in the field that are taking advantage of this. Travis Hunt and Scott Gamble both in as well. Gamble, remember, had to take a tow thanks to his connection issues, and he was not able to get his first pit stop out of the way. So this is the 9.5 SimSports drivers' first opportunity.
Be very interesting if there's no more virtual safety cars. I'm predicting we might get one more, but how much will someone like Chris Miller, who's been in the top 5 all night long, how much will he get affected from this pit stop? He's going to be way down the order and way far off the back of the field, so it's going to be very interesting for him. At least Darren Lobb and potentially Grundle, Hall, Thomas, those guys who have not pitted yet, they can maybe try and streak away. And Darren Lobb's already got 1.6 seconds on Grundle off the restart race, so he's pushing hard.
Yeah, that means that he is clear of the slipstream as well. He won't be, Luke Grundle won't be getting any draft off of him, so keep an eye out for that. Seeing some positions being made up further back. Chad Vigor versus John Latham for 21st and 22nd. There's a big pack of cars in there behind our leaders.
Still streaking away is Darren Lobb. We see the pit stops, obviously, Crane and Point in there, done and out of the race. So the gap from Lobb to Warwick is 4.9 seconds. So that is the effective race leader of the guys who have pitted. Remember, is Paul Warwick in the 050 Fishy Motorsport machine, currently in position number 5. He's not far behind Jeff Thomas at the moment for position number 4. Thomas has not made that pit stop just yet, and not far behind Warwick is Chad Lewis, who's had a really good run tonight as well, and David Nash isn't too far away either. So they're the 3 we're going to have to keep an eye out on after the first round of pit stops. Will be Warwick, Lewis and David Nash.
Indeed they will. These are the guys that are in the box seat to be leading V8 Vets here at Circuit de la Sarthe. And have a look at how aggressive they are being in the braking zones. Further racing, further back in the field. This is Brenton O'Brien at the front of this pack, facing off against Michael Stewart, who's still trying to make up places after that unfortunate contact with John Latham under the VSC. All in a line. Conga down the straight to Indianapolis, and it's not really a straight, it has 2 kinks in the middle of it. That's the whole battle right there. That's amazing. 15th to 29th. There's 14 cars involved. O'Brien defensive here as Stewart's going to try up the inside of Indianapolis. Oh, he thinks better of it, and quite right too. That's a corner you don't want to go up the inside of in these cars. Scott McKay, meanwhile, man, he's having some issues keeping that car on the track. Looks like Stewart might have a run up the inside of Arnage here, but no, he backs out of it. It checks up everybody behind, though. Griffiths, Sebra, Vigor, McKnight. Looks like John Latham was sent a little bit wide there, too.
You won't believe this race, but this is pretty typical for V8 veterans, how the racing is. It is very, very intense, and producer Dan will back me on that. This is pretty typical for V8 vets with 10, 15 car battle packs. Not even just at Le Mans, just anywhere we go. It's absolutely remarkable how these guys can race so hard and so close and keep it relatively clean, as well as Ricky Hyde and John Latham are side by side. A little bit of contact between those guys through the Porsche curves, now through the Corvette curves. They're single file through here. Latham will have the advantage. I just picked up Chris Miller was 50 seconds behind Darren Lobb after that pit stop, so he's a long, long way away from the race leader. Have any of the top guys gone to the pit lane this lap? They have not. They will continue on for another lap.
Yeah, they're going to try and stretch this out as long as they can. The 2 VSCs might have extended their effective fuel stint by a lap. Who knows at this stage? More drivers on their way to the pit lane. Rick Sebra, that is a penalty. We saw that flash up on screen a few moments ago for an incident on lap 1. Damien Cairns also in the pit lane, and it doesn't look like that's a penalty, so it might very well be his first scheduled pit stop, potentially pitted for damage earlier on. I'll tell you what, considering how intense the racing has been so far, I'm quite happy that I'm going to be on for every other V8 Vets broadcast for the remainder of the season. Of course, I won't be on the crew when Oceanic Dirt Sim Events is running, but I'm very happy that this is what I can expect.
Well, we can be the fill-in team race on the odd Thursdays, and look going on. Dan Hall again doing a fantastic job, but in behind them, Matt Vandercrown and David Nash are going side by side. It looks like Nash will let him go into the first chicane. So another smart call, I think, there from David Nash. He'll now sit behind Matt Vandergren, save a little bit of fuel. You touched on a good point, Reece. The leaders with those virtual safety cars, they will extend their fuel life. So that will help them in that later stint as well. They won't probably have to take as much as those guys that have already taken their first pit stop. So it might balance out at the end, but my gut feeling is the leader of those guys that have pitted, Paul Warwick, I think he is in the box seat.
Yeah, I would expect him to be racing for the lead, and there he is trying to go for a move in the foreground. Oh no! Turned around as Jeff Thomas, and it comes back on track right ahead of Matt Vanderkran. There's big damage now for the 180 and huge damage for Jeff Thomas as well. Thomas was one of the cars that hadn't pitted, but Vanderkran had already pitted under the first VSC. So this has put a big spanner in his works.
And so has for Paul Warwick as well, because he was the one that made contact. So if he's getting a penalty eventually, that's going to play right in the hands of Chad Lewis as well. Michael Whiting goes past Matt Vandergren. He's missing a boot as well. So a few of these guys in amongst the top 10, top 12 cars sporting quite a bit of damage. So this is going to open the race wide open as well. You see Matt Vandergren getting past then by Scotty Van Loon. He doesn't even have a bonnet. So looks like Matt Vandergren way off the pace. He's up barely getting to 230 k's an hour. So that car's got massive damage.
Yeah. That engine could blow at any moment if he's not careful. I mean, you'd think that there's extra engine cooling now with it being exposed to the elements, but the damage can build and eventually the engine will go pop. So look out for that. We might have a third VSC on our hands if he can't get that thing back to the pits under its own power. But Paul Warwick still leading the way of the cars that have pitted, now up to 4th place. But remember, he did make that contact at the second Mulsanne chicane. There's every possibility here that Chad Lewis will end up in the effective race lead.
One probably potential saving grace for Matt Vanderkran. He can pit now, get that damage repaired, top his tank right up. With some fuel saving, he might be able to make it home. Remember, on the graph pre-race, you can get potentially 12 laps to a tank with some fuel saving in the draft. If he pits now, we'll have 12 laps to go. So potentially Vanderkran might just take his second pit stop now, take the pain, and potentially still might be within a decent result later on in this race.
Yeah, I think he might have to depend on a VSC, though, to really make sure that he's in enough of a slipstream that he can fuel save. Well, nothing's changed up the front here. Darren Lobb still leading the way, and he set his personal best officially counted lap. I think he's gotten a couple of off tracks along the way. His technical best lap is a 3:53.1, but that hasn't officially counted just yet. Luke Grundell, meanwhile, look at the time that he is losing to Darren Lobb, who is on an absolute charge right now. Lobb is just trying to get as much of a gap as he can before he inevitably comes in for his pit stop. Will it be at the end of this lap or the end of the next one?
Well, we're thinking probably about 8 laps for the first stint. So potentially with the 2 VSCs, he might have pushed that to 9 potentially, but that would be a bit of a stretch. So it's either going to be this lap or the next lap. I'm not too sure. I'm probably banking on this lap. I don't think he would have saved enough fuel to do another complete lap around this track. So look for Lobb, Grundell and Dan Hall to be coming in at the end of this lap.
Look at how much Lobb is taking on the entry to these chicanes. He's widening the track as much as he possibly can. The same is almost true of the drivers who are the effective race leaders right now. Chad Lewis has been catching up to Paul Warwick, and I sense a move potentially soon. But Warwick is nailing the exits. He's just giving himself that tiny bit of extra breathing room. Let's see what kind of speeds they reach here on the second run down the Mulsanne Straight. Round about 290 is the expected top speed, and looks like he's just going to touch it. 295 on the way, 296 before they get on the brakes, and that's very hard on the brakes for David Nash. Too late. He's going to go straight across the gravel trap and lose a further position from that.
That could have been very, very ugly for David Nash. There probably would have been not much between his rear bumper, his front bumper, and Chad Lewis's rear bumper. Look at that. That's wild. And he's still serving his slowdown, so he's now lost a spot to Ken Latta who's on the move. He's now up to position number 6. He started 28th, Ken Latta. So he's up, moving through the field. I believe he has taken his pit stop already as well, Ken Latta. So he's going to be one to watch out for later in this race, because at the moment, I think it's down to him and Chad Lewis, and even Dave Kirby's in this fight as well.
Yeah, I mentioned when we went through the grid that Ken Latta probably wouldn't have been very happy with his qualifying performance down in 28th place. There's been a change for second. Meanwhile, Dan Hall is now ahead of Luke Grundell. Luke has been losing a lot of pace in the last couple of laps. He's actually given up the P2 spot coming into Indianapolis. So now Dan Hall is having a run here, potentially having a lob at Lob.
Very nice pun there, Reese. I'll give you that one. But potentially Grundell could be saving fuel as well, or he's either hurt his tyres really badly. It'll be one or the other. He might be saving enough fuel just to maybe gain a little bit of time on Darren Lobb, because I think Darren Lobb has the pure speed over the whole field, and David Nash has massive damage as well. So that probably didn't happen not too long ago either. I'll try and pick it up on my end. We might try and have it looks like actually there's contact with Michael Whiting at the Arnage corner. So we'll pick up a RaceKraft Simulations replay. Whiting already sporting no rear wing on that car. So this is through Indianapolis, the left-hander, coming to Arnage, turn number 20. Whiting goes to the left, he covers, and then unfortunately when Whiting darts back to the right, there's contact made. So it's going to be a hard one for Race Control 2 call. And now here comes Grundell, Dan Hall, and Darren Lobb all into the pits as suspected.
Yeah, indeed. So that means Paul Warwick is going to assume the race lead. Chad Lewis will run up to second place. No surprise to see that we're also seeing Michael Whiting, actually no, it's David Nash coming into the pits as well. Whiting continues on despite the contact with Nash. So the question is, where are our former race leaders going to come out? The field's still pretty compressed here. They are going to fall a long way down, outside the top 20 even. Don't forget, a pit stop to fill the tank right back up usually takes about anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds. So I think, yeah, they're almost going to be in danger of falling outside the top 30 at this stage.
They're going to be a long way down the field. It looks like Dan Hall's off the jacks first. He's under field, potentially, or saved a lot of fuel. Being in position number 3, Grundell's gone as well. Lobb is still on the jacks.
Oh no, what's going on for Darren Lobb?
Is there a problem for Lobb? This is a very, very long pit stop.
I'm not seeing any flags next to his name.
There he goes.
So he's taken a full tank of fuel. He's gone from empty all the way up to 111. He's looking to go long here.
He's down to, looks like 33rd, apologies. So he's a long, long way down the field, but the difference between him and potentially Grundell and Hall, they underfield quite a lot compared to Darren Lobb. So Darren Lobb will be taking the least amount of fuel in that last pit stop, so he's going to gain back a lot of time, but he's a minute behind the race leader Paul Warwick. So I think it's still going to be a big task ahead for Lobb to get any type of good result here tonight.
Yeah, so he'll have 11 laps to the end of the race. You did mention that with some fuel saving they can make it 12 laps, but remember, that's Lobb's first pit stop. You have to take 2. So I think it's just going to be a run into the pits, get up on the jacks, and then get straight off again for Darren Lobb when he gets his next pit stop going.
Yeah, I believe so. He's just going to come into his box, go up, and then straight back out. So he's going to save a lot of time doing that. But is he going to make up a minute to Chad Lewis and Paul Warwick? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to make up that much time. So it's going to be very interesting. So guys, we're going to have to keep an eye on. Obviously, Darren Lobb, also Luke Grundell and Dan Hall, because they were right behind him in the order. They were 1, 2, 3 before they pitted. Paul Warwick still got a question over his head with that contact earlier. So it's him, Chad Lewis, and then also Ken Latta as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out. We're only just over half race distance, Reece.
Yeah, we are. This is there's still plenty to come here from V8 Vets, presented, of course, by RaceKraft Simulations. This battle between Chad Lewis and Luke Grundell still continuing. We're seeing news of a drive-through penalty for Travis Hunt. Not too sure what that was for, but we did see him involved in a couple of incidents further down the line. Look at this fight. This is continuing on. Seems like Luke Grundell is not interested in giving up this position. This is on the run to Indianapolis as well. If you're on the outside coming through here, you're brave. Will Chad Lewis yield? No, it'll be Grundell who yields. And they've got, Stewie Hall. Stewie Hall just up ahead on track. Between Arnage and Indianapolis is stopped.
Another one. Another safety car, I reckon.
Yeah. They'd have to. They'd have to. He's nowhere near a marshal's post. This will have to be a VSC.
Paul Warrior's coming to the pit lane entry. Will he take it? Has he been told? No, he hasn't. He's gone straight on. If you're someone like Darren Lobb down the back of the field, you're going to have to pit. You have to pit. You'll make up so much time.
Stewie's moving.
Scotty Van Loon in the lane. So I think a few guys will take the risk and come into the pit lane.
Yeah. Still not sure if there's going to be a VSC from this because Stewie Hall is moving, but at a very slow rate. What is going on here?
Maybe a hardware failure potentially, Reese?
Yeah, potentially. It looks like he's getting back up to speed now, though. Still very slow. So we avoid a VSC there, which is bad news for anyone who's just come into the pits.
Scotty Van Loon, Robert Griffiths. Looks like the only ones. Jamie McKnight, Troy Stone Street as well. Potentially they will plan pit stops. Maybe not. We will probably never know that. But there is 4 guys that I can see in the lane. Make that 5 also with Rob Crisdale, Craig Friend, Darren Goosey. There's actually a lot of guys. Dan Hall's gone to the pits. That's an important one. Dan Hall, pit lane.
Yep, Dan Hall getting his second pit stop out of the way, just topping off the tank, it seems, so that he can run all the way to the end of the race. We got 10 laps remaining officially. VSC has been called from race control.
Wow. So I think this is a masterstroke for the guys that have just pitted. It's
not for Stewie Hall. It's for Matt Scholes. The 605 is stopped in the middle of the Porsche curves.
He has. So those guys that have just pitted, I believe Scotty Van Loon was one. I think Scotty Van Loon looks like the leader of the guys that has just taken that second pit stop. Trying to pick up where potentially Dan Hall is. He's just coming out of the lane now with Scotty Gamble. So this is going to play into the hands of these guys that have taken that risk. Scotty Van Loon might be on for a masterstroke of a result here.
Yeah, maybe he will. Oh dear. So we've got Flavel, Vanderkraan, Burns, Hall, all in the pit lane. Matt Scholes still stopped. And I'm honestly not sure exactly what brought out the VSC there, because I've just reviewed the contact. Scholes made contact with Craig Friend as he made his way through. This is a bit confusing, but I mean, regardless, yeah, like you say, Scotty Van Loon in the box seat here. He can run right to the end and potentially be a surprise victor here.
Looks like Scholes didn't have a motor blow or anything, so I don't know if he's just pulled up. I think he would have made it back to the lane, but either way, we got a virtual safety car, and I'm going to try and read off the guys who have made that second pit stop. So the leader of the guys that have made that second pit stop is Scotty Van Loon, currently position number 15 on the road. Damien Kenson behind him, David Nash, Goosey, not Jason Spriggs, my iRacing is not playing friends with me. Griffiths, Hyde, also McKnight, Crisdale, Hunt, Gamble. Oh, massive contact with Friend there.
Yeah, that was the contact with Friend, and we also saw Rob Crisdale with his engine smoking there. Scholes decides to pull over, and this is what ultimately got the contact. He was already heavily damaged. He was trying to make it back to the pits, but unfortunately, through that section of the circuit, it's a bit difficult to do.
Just another thing too, Reece. Scotty Van Loon, we're touching on him once again. He is the leader of the guys that have made 2 pit stop as we go through another replay. Thanks to RaceKraft, this is on board Craig Friend. It looks like Scholes, not really sure what to make of that race. He definitely had damage before that, and looks like just lost control, and unfortunately Craig Friend, an innocent victim there in all that. He's got even more damage to the 696. Scotty Van Loon started 26th in this race and potentially could be on for a race victory here. Absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, indeed. It could be a very remarkable result if everything goes Scotty Van Loon's way. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye out for where everyone else ends up filtering out. This is the third virtual safety car of this race, and considering how chaotic it's been so far, we might just see one more before racing concludes, which would once again throw the majority of our strategy predictions out of the window.
Yeah, I don't think any of our strategy predictions have come up trumps tonight. There's just been so many variables in this race. We've said that Darren Lobb was the fast car. Now he's buried in the field. I did notice he did take that second stop under the virtual safety car as well, but he is absolutely buried in the field. He's P30 still. And Scotty Gamble, who's now also taken 2 stops, he's actually in front of him. So from disconnecting to the server, he's now in front of the initial race leader, which is quite remarkable how this has all played out. So Le Mans certainly turning it up tonight and keeping us all guessing all night long, Reese.
Yeah, this has been a very intriguing race. I've enjoyed this so far. I'm sure I'll enjoy the racing yet to come. Still keeping ourselves under VSC conditions. Paul Warwick still leading the way. There's been no news from race control regarding the contact that Paul Warwick made earlier, so I think he might have escaped the wrath of race control for that. We will see. But we'll keep an eye out as well for Ken Latta and for Chad Lewis as well. Now they're the ones who will likely be at a disadvantage when we get back to green flag racing conditions, which looks like we are about to.
Right now.
Yep, right now. Moving up to speed, and away we go. Paul Warwick leading the way into Indianapolis. Chad Lewis giving chase. Kenneth Latta and Dave Kirby, 3rd and 4th, and it is on for 5th. Michael Whiting, who's still carrying that rear end damage from before, trying a move on Greg Sharp. It just didn't work out for him.
Been very hard to keep up with what's been going on tonight, Reece. We're obviously watching Lob, Grundell, and Dan Hall at the start of the race. Then we were talking about Paul Warwick, Chad Lewis, and Ken Latta being the guys to watch out for, as Jeff Thomas has a big lose there off the Arnage corner. And now the guy to watch out for is Scotty Van Loon, the leader of the 2 stoppers. So it's constantly changing throughout this race who to keep an eye out on. It's absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, I honestly don't know where to look right now as we're riding on board here.
This is Jeff Thomas is on board. He's working hard. That car is not playing and cooperating with him whatsoever. He is up on the wheel. Looks like he's driving a dirt sprint car. He's working the wheel that much.
Yeah, there's, I mean, these cars rotate on throttle if you play your cards right. And remember, the differential is locked in these things, so you need to be smooth on the power and let the rear end help you turn the car, which is certainly going to make them hard to drive in the Porsche curves. Into the pits he will come, or the number 43, and no doubt that's to get some damage repaired. Also seeing, Damon Fisher in the pits, as well as Jeff Thomas.
We're 3 wide on the front straight, 2 reach between Lob, Travis Hunt, and Scott Gamble. We're 3 wide momentarily on the front straight. Gamble and Hunt still side by side. Gamble will get the move done down the inside, but Hunt will try and go around the outside, get the inside for turn number 2. But he's compromised his entry. He's slow on the exit. That will allow Darren Lobb to get on by, and looks like John Latham will be right there as well to try and take advantage through the Dunlop chicane and then through the S's.
Yeah, sticking it up the inside is John Latham, former driver for the old TTL team. He's been around for quite some time. Also lives in Perth too. Had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of times. Great guy. And out of the turn we come with Travis Hunt. One of the guys racing in VR tonight, but he'll be looking in his mirrors at the train of cars behind. Latham, Sibra, Miller, Delaney, Friend, then Blanchard, Flavel, Burns, and Vanderkraan. They're all in the same pack here, and pulling out to have a look is Chris Miller. Not quite close enough to Rick Sebra to get it done, and covered, but locked up a little is Travis Hunt. He's got a lot of work to do.
He's holding off John Latham, one of the fastest operators in this series, so he's got a bit of work cut out for him Travis Hunter is very good on his days. Down the inside, that looks like David Kirby potentially making the move on his teammate Michael Whiting for position as well. So Kirby into 5th, battling with his teammate on screen, who's still carrying that damage like you said, Reese. And now he might be compromised here to Michael Stewart in the bright green car as well. So still a lot going on at the front of the field. But these guys still have to take one more pit stop in this race.
Yeah, who's going to come out best?
Oh, Stewart.
Oh, wow, okay. Down on the brakes. Got to get all the way down to first gear for Mulsanne corner. Around the outside goes Michael Whiting. Good Lord, the racing is so intense here right now. It's on everywhere you look. Interesting to note that we've procured the services of a drone here to keep track of Michael Stewart. Scott McCune is the green and black Commodore on the right side, and it's a good run from Chad Vigor in the Mustang trailing. Too wide into Indianapolis. McCune going to try on Whiting here, but it's a good defense from the 520. Almost pushes him wide there. Straighter exit for McCune. Will be inside for Arnage. Does he have enough on the brakes to get the move done?
Gone.
Oh no, yes, Dave Kirby, and oh, he got whacked by Chad Vigor on the way through too.
And that's massive right front damage as well to Kirby. Looks like he just done that on it completely on his own, David Kirby. Looks like he just locked the rear brakes and just spun clearly around. Fewens as well. So he might have got caught up in that incident. Surely we don't have a 4th virtual safety car.
He stopped.
Oh no.
Oh, his
Here
engine. The engine blew for Jason Fewens on the way into Indianapolis. He was just a bit too aggressive on the downshift.
We'll have to watch the leaders now, Reese, because now the call's gone in. They will surely be throwing the virtual safety car. Will they be pitting? We're watching Paul Warwick and Chad Lewis out in front. Do they dive in pits? Surely they have to. They'd have to. They do.
Yep.
Top 3. Here's Ladder as well. Sharp. They're all coming in. So watch everyone up to everyone up to Scotty Van Loon. He stays out. Scotty Van Loon stays out. Looks like Luke Grundell. So it looks like Grundell's actually going to be the leader of the race on the restart here.
Yeah. Very interesting that Grundell decided not to come in.
He's taking his second stop, I believe, Reese.
Ah, okay.
So I believe he came in with Dan Hall under that last virtual safety car. I could be wrong, but I believe he did. I'll go check on it and get back to you.
Yeah. I think he did because the stint is only showing as 3 laps ago. But, well... Yeah, I don't know if that's a timing error or something, but yeah, it is only showing as 1 pit stop so far for Luke Grundell.
I'm looking at lap 9. He definitely came into the pits, Luke Grundell. I'm trying to pick up where he potentially came into the pits another time.
I don't think he did.
Maybe he has only taken 1.
Yeah.
There
So if that is the case, then I think that's a big missed trick there for Luke Grundell.
I think it might be a little bit of a mistake there potentially from Grundell. So that still leaves potentially Scotty Van Loon as the effective race leader. Have they called the virtual safety car yet? Because the guys are still racing at speed. I don't think they have.
No. Fewens is... where is Fewens right now? He's back in the pits. So I think Race Control... gave him the call, allowed him to tow back to the pits without calling another VSC.
So I think that's probably called out those guys. They called out for the tow. That everyone's reacted, gone to the pits, thinking it'll be a virtual safety car. And it's not a virtual safety car. See, a few guys bringing up the point that they called for a tow and there's no virtual safety car. So there might be a few upset people as we're nearly 4 wide into the second chicane. This is wild. It's Varga, Spriggs, Griffiths, and Hall as well. This is off tap race.
Absolutely it is. Dan Hall having to make way for multiple drivers here on the way through. Take it easy, boys, as they make their way down to Mulsanne corner. There's a big battle ahead here with Griffiths, Varga and Spriggs still going on, and they are catching up to Jamie McKnight. This is so interesting. Jamie McKnight currently in 5th place. I mean, the positions gained and lost is looking crazy right now. There's so many drivers here that have made up as many as 32 positions. That's how far up Jason Spriggs is.
Well, if you look at the guys that have made 2 stops, Scotty Van Loon, we'll say he's effectively first. He started in position number 26. Damien Cairns, effective second. He started in 18th. David Nash started 16th. Then you go back to Jamie McKnight. He started 23rd. So all these guys, big moves throughout the field. Spriggs is up 32, but he has only made 1 pit stop so far. Ricky Hyde, he's made 2, and he's up 30 spots. So absolutely remarkable how this race has played out. It's so hard to keep up race. I don't think I've ever thought so hard in behind a commentary booth for one race. This is absolutely off tap.
Yeah, I've given up thinking personally. I'm just taking in the action as it comes, and all I'm thinking about is how on earth are we going to pick a driver of the day out of all of this?
I don't know if you can, Reese. There's so much going on. Do you take a hard charge, or do you take someone like Scotty Van Loon, who's done a masterclass, hit it under that second virtual safety car, got his 2 stops done from 26th potentially to the race lead and a potential win. So still a lot to play out. We'll watch what Luke Rundell does. On our timing, he's only done 1 stop. We did double check. It looks like he has only done 1 stop. I thought he'd done 2. So he's still got to make 1 more pit stop in this race. So does a few other people. Jason Spriggs is one of them. He's currently in P number 6. So we're just starting lap number 13. So we've still got 7 laps to go around this circuit race. Still a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, oh God, we'll keep our eye out further down the field as well. Keeping tabs on Grundle, obviously. Van Loon and Cairns in the box seat for the top 2 positions right now. As far as things work out now, if the race stopped and Grundle was filtered through with his second stop, David Nash would complete the podium. We also see that I think Jason Spriggs still owes us a pit stop. Looks like everyone else has at least completed their compulsory stop requirement. This is a huge battle for 6th place. Jamie McKnight right at the front here, still holding on to 5th, and he's got enough of a gap over Spriggs that he can keep working forward and hope that everyone battles behind him and slows each other up. But this is what a draft train looks like. I can't imagine the speeds that drivers will be reaching at the tail end of this pack.
One thing to note as well, Reece, 3 of the guys that were in the top 5 early on the race, Dan Hall, Darren Lobb, Scott Gamble, they are 9th to 11th in this race. So Scott Gamble has gone up from dropping out of the server to now just outside the top 10. And these guys have pretty well the guys that have been on the pace throughout the last few seasons and even in qualifying tonight. So watch out for these 3 guys, Hall, Lobb and Gamble, to potentially make more spots up. They're still 12 seconds away from Luke Grundle, about 10 seconds away from Scotty Van Loon, but do not count them out just yet.
Yeah, don't count them out at all.
Here's Dan Hall on the inside.
Put him right in it. Yep, Dan Hall on the inside, trying. Is he too deep? He is. He gets too deep into the corner. Has to take the tyre chicane on the way through and serve the slowdown. Careful on the re-entry. Gamble having to make way there just to avoid getting into Dan Hall. Oh no! Scotty Van Loon has stopped. What on earth?
He's blown the motor on the entry of the second chicane race.
Oh, no.
You're kidding me. I've put the Mickey on him. I apologise, Scotty.
That's the biggest commentator's curse I think I've ever seen. He's been there for over 30 seconds. So this is how it happened. Just on the downshift on the way in, run into second. That's often when you see motors being blown in these cars.
That is rotten. That is absolutely rotten luck. But the question is in the last car they called for a tow, they did not throw a virtual safety car. So what will they do this time? Boy, this is now puts Damien Cairns in the effective race lead. Look at the battle in behind them still. Jamie McKnight, Spriggs, who's still got to take pit stop, Robert Griffiths, Varga, and then Lobb, Gamble. Where's Dan Hall as well? Oh, he had the slowdown, apologies. So Dan Hall not too far away either. So this is really on. Darren Lobb could still nearly end up on the podium here.
Yeah, certainly could. It would definitely help in his championship fight. Side by side between Stephen Varga and Robert Griffiths on the way up into the Porsche curves, and Darren Lobb will be loving this, the slipstream that he'll be getting from the both of them. And the move complete for Stephen Varga. Lobb's going to try and get on the power here, but he can't quite fit himself in before they have to start turning left.
I'm nearly lost for words, for this race. This is absolutely incredible. Griffiths runs wide. This might allow Lob to get a really good exit from the Corvette curves. Griffiths runs wide. That'll allow Lob and also Gamble right through. I think Griffiths struggling a little bit with potential damage. He's run wide, potentially has a slowdown as well, but that will allow Lob and Gamble to pull away. So their next car inside will be Stephen Varga. So now Lob to 7th, Gamble to 8th. And they're still, I'm looking at timing, they're about 8 seconds away from Damien Cairns. So, like I said, still a lot to play. We're just done in lap 14 of this race, so 6 laps to go. And Damien Cairns, your effective race leader, but when will Luke Grundle make that final pit stop?
That is the question. Grundle, all he needs to do is jump into the pits, get up on the jacks, put half a litre in the tank, and that's him done. He might not even take tyres if he wants to hold on to this. Damien Cairns, meanwhile, lapping on his own. He's not getting any slipstream assistance, neither is David Nash. Basically, everyone behind Jamie McKnight right now, so this pack that we're looking at here has the benefit of the slipstream and will likely be making up time, at least down the straights. So it's on, no matter where you look.
And here's Darren Lobb now coming back of Stephen Varga, who's a little bit defensive already, but looks like Darren Lobb's going to get there over. And here comes Gamble. Bit of bump drafting between Gamble and Lobb. They're working together. This is fantastic between the two championship rivals, trying to work together to get their way through the field. Looks like Gamble's pushed Darren Lobb into the position to get the move done. Now will Gamble get the move done through the first chicane at turn number 11. Now onto the Mulsanne straight. There's a lock up ahead for the Frog Leap cars. It looks like Gamble now going to be side by side with Stephen Varga. It looks like Lobb might even have a go at Jason Spriggs into the second chicane.
Yeah, Lobb, I think, it looks like he's lifting off. He doesn't want any part in this because he senses that Spriggs is going for the move on Jamie McKnight, and Lobb's going to try and follow him through. We keep our eye out on everyone behind him, but there is Lobb trying to get up the inside of McKnight, but it's a successful defense from the 027. Jason Spriggs had a go, and now Lobb's like, okay, I let you have a go, now let me have a go.
They're going tit for tat here, trying to get through the traffic.
Again.
Bump draft again, trying to get to the inside of Spriggs, and McKnight not far ahead, so McKnight goes defensive straight away for the Mulsanne corner. Lobb's boxed in, he can't do anything. Gamble hold on position for Varga. McKnight trying to hold off Jason Spriggs. He's still got to make a second pit stop, so he's not in this race whatsoever. Lobb will get the move done.
Oh no! Darren Lobb and Jason Spriggs! Massive crash!
Wow. And
that was on the exit. Oh no, they came together on the exit. And Spriggs is stuck in the wall. This would be a VSC for sure.
That is so unfortunate for Darren Lobb. He has massive damage to the left-hand rear corner of that car. Very unfortunate. It's disappointing because Spriggs wasn't really in that race. He still had to make a second pit stop. It's unfortunate for him that he's stuck on the wall, but more unfortunate for Darren Lobb, who's really out of the running for a good result now.
Wow. I mean, how would you be? I said that earlier about Scott Gamble, but Scotty has escaped the worst of it seems. And Darren Lobb, with reverse fortunes as the virtual safety car has been called by race control. Jason Spriggs is wedged in the Armco barrier, and there's no getting that car out under its own power. So now it falls to Luke Grundle here to get down to pit lane speed limit. But will we see him take this opportunity to make his way into the lane?
He'd have to, surely, if he's still only taking that one pit stop. He has to pit. He won't lose as much time doing it now. But now it will. Then, if he does take the pit stop, that will leave Damien Cairns, in the lead of this race. Scott Gamble, currently 5th on the road, 4th on corrected. This is the replay. On the exit of the Mulsanne corner, turn number 15, Spriggs trying to hold off McKnight. Lobb definitely gets a good run on the inside, and it's unfortunate contact on the exit. Spriggs gets stuck in the wall, and unfortunately for Darren Lobb, straight into the fence. Massive left front damage for him. And Grundle is in the pit. So is Damien Cairns. Cairns is going in the pits as well. Sorry to interrupt the replay, Reese, but Damien Cairns is going in the pits as well. So maybe he's tight on fuel, or I'm sure he took 2 pit stops. Now David Nash is in the lead. David Nash is going to be in the lead of the race. Damien McKnight 2nd. Scotty Gamble 3rd. Surely Scott Gamble cannot. There was netcode contact, which is probably the worst thing for Darren Lobb. But I'm sorry, back to Scott Gamble. Surely you cannot potentially win a race from dropping out of the server and virtually being 40th at the start of the race. Like, wow.
Yeah. Surely.
Lobb's now coming in the pits for that fast repair, so he's going to drop even further down the order. So now the order is semi-corrected. David Nash is your race leader. Jamie McKnight now in second, or is... Sorry, second. McKnight's actually past David Nash.
What's he doing in front?
That's why I was confused, because the timing put McKnight in front. Yeah, a bit confused there. So now Scott Gamble third, Varga fourth, Dan Hall back to fifth. Troy Stonestreet, he towed earlier in the race with a blown motor. He's back into sixth.
That's amazing.
This race is absolutely wild. I'm trying to keep it PG-13 race, but holy smokes! Wow, this is remarkable. I
have all manner of expletives running through my head at the action that this race has had and the varying fortunes of all the drivers out here. I mean, you know, for me, a guy who, you know, had only ever heard about V8 Veterans and how good it is, this has been a great introduction to the series. I was falling asleep earlier today. I hadn't been sleeping well this week. I think this adrenaline is going to keep me up for a while.
I did touch on before race that V8 Veterans races, and again, Dan, previous commentators, Scott, Simon Mazzoma as well, they'll back me up on how great the racing is, how intense it is, but this is on a whole nother level. This has exceeded everything we've ever done times 100. This is absolutely off tap. I'll say it again, it is off tap. This is absolutely crazy race. I cannot believe what is happening tonight. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so we have multiple contenders for the driver of the day.
Who do you pick? Who do you pick? It's crazy. I mean, you can look at someone like, sorry to cut you off, but Stonestreet, who blew his motor early in the race, now up to 6 on the road. Gamble dropped out of the server, stayed on the lead lap, luckily because it's a nearly 4-minute lap time. He's now on the podium, and I mean, it's Scott Gamble with his pace. You nearly back him to potentially make 2 passes for the race win. Like, who do you pick? Like Stephen Varga, currently, he's position number 4. He started 33rd. Blake Delaney, remember his troubles early in the race. He started 40th as well. He's 8th. Like, who do you pick, race? Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I'm half tempted to throw it to a public vote or let someone else pick. Put the names in a hat and draw one out. There's been so many great comeback performances tonight.
It certainly has been a lot of tales of woe for a few guys early in the race. All the guys I just mentioned, Gamble, Stonestreet, Delaney, now all in the top 10. Rick Sibra, he had his troubles. He had a drive-through. He's now in the top 10. Like, absolutely remarkable. Darren Lobb, meanwhile, I'm trying to pick up potentially where he is on the road. I think he's just outside the top 20 potentially. I'm trying to look at the timing on the prod feed end because all the timing in servers not playing ball with me. So I think he's still got a long way to go. I think Lobb's pretty much out of this for a really strong result. So we're about to go green flag racing again, Reese. So it's going to be on. David Nash will lead us away from 16th on the grid. Will lead us away on this restart. Here we go.
Out of the first Mulsanne chicane we go, and Jamie McKnight immediately on the attack in the bronze Commodore behind the 911 of David Nash. The slipstream already picked up here. Nash will stay defensive into Mulsanne chicane 2, but McKnight has so much momentum that he'll clear him by the time they get to the braking zone. Phenomenal stuff. Jamie McKnight taking great advantage of the restart there, but look out for Scott Gamble in the 9.5 Commodore behind.
Scotty Gamble looks pretty ominous there in second. McKnight got that move done nice and early in David Nash. The only problem now for McKnight, he does not have slipstream. Look at David Nash closing in. He's nearly 10 kilometres an hour faster coming to the Mulsanne corner. And Nash will fly. Well, look at it behind race. 2, 3 wide. This is remarkable.
This is ridiculous racing. I can't believe what's going on here. McKnight wide coming out of Mulsanne corner, and Scott Gamble's going to go for it here. That's the same situation that that Spriggs and Lobb unfortunately crashed in, but no contact this time.
Here comes Gamble as well, Reese. He's moving up to position number 2. He's going to be stuck now behind David Nash. He's going to pop him. Bit more harder than what he did to Darren Lobb earlier on. This is what 4 cars battling for the lead coming into Indianapolis.
Oh, there we go. McKnight off at Indianapolis.
Saved it.
He's recovered it. What a recovery that is for Jamie McKnight, as Gamble's up the inside of Arnage now on David Nash, trying for the lead. It hasn't worked this time, but man, Gamble is looking like a hungry wolf at the moment, working his way up this field. Matt Vanderkraan, it looks like he's dropping positions. I think he might have had an off at Indianapolis. We'll have to wait and see for that. But what a crazy fight this is. I mean, you saw Scott Gamble making his way up the middle of Stephen Varga and Jamie McKnight. McKnight tried to pull out. He tried to give Varga room on the inside, but they're racing just too hard right now.
2 former teammates as well, Varga and McKnight, 2 former Synergy drivers, now on separate teams. What a save for McKnight as well. When we get to him, might try and pick up a replay. I honestly don't think there was much in it. I think McKnight tried to cover Varga a little bit on the inside. Unfortunate contact, but what a save from McKnight. The only downside to him, he'll have massive left side damage to that car, so he's going to be down on straight line speed as David Nash will lead this lap. We've got 4 laps to go, but Scotty Gamble looks ominous in P number 2.
That he does. I think the move will be coming sooner rather than later. This is the on board from David Nash, looking at the rear of the 5-4-3. It'll be defensive into the Dunlop chicane. No chance of getting a move done cleanly there. You've got the whole of the Mulsanne straight yet to come. Slight mistake from Gamble, though. Couldn't quite get the traction out of Dunlop, so he'll have to nail the exit of Tetra Rouge this time for a run at victory.
Yeah, Gamble's still not far away. I think he's biding his time because he probably doesn't want to make the move too early, because with how strong the slipstream is, David Nash can just pass him right back on the straight up towards Indianapolis potentially. So I don't think Gamble will want to pass him too quickly because he'll still be vulnerable unless he can pull a massive gap and get out of slipstream. But it looks like he's going to try and get the move done right now, down towards turn number 11, the first chicane. Gamble, now your new race leader, Reese.
Yep, and clears him well before they get to the braking zone. On the anchors you get. Bit of ground being made up by Stephen Varga. David Nash is in trouble now, could potentially lose second, but as long as he sticks in the slipstream of Scott Gamble, he should be all right. There's a bit of pace difference between these guys. Remember, Gamble qualified in second place, David Nash qualified 16th, Varga qualified 33rd. It seems at the moment Varga's race pace a lot better than his qualifying pace, but now we're really getting a sense for how strong the slipstream is, because here comes David Nash again at Scott Gamble. It doesn't work, but it's on behind. Chris Miller and Dan Hall fighting over 5th place. Jamie McKnight right there with them.
Yeah, Dan Hall and Miller got the move done on McKnight earlier in the lap. McKnight definitely sporting damage on the left-hand side. He'll be struggling for grip and struggling for straight line speed. You can see that he's struggling, not being able to stay in touch with Dan Hall too much. Miller got the move done at the second chicane. Now will Dan Hall line him up into the Mulsanne corner. Here we go with another car, Brenton O'Brien.
Oh, yep, Evolution Racing team manager there, stopped at the exit of Dunlop, and VSC, I think, has just been called again. And, yep, everyone's backing off. So how many VSCs are we at now? 5? This is number 5.
I think there's been 6 calls for a tow, but we've had 5 VSCs. So it might give us a minute to catch our breath back, Reese. My voice is toast after one of these broadcasts, but I think, like you touched on, the adrenaline's so high, my voice has stayed intact for now. So, man, we're going to have 3 laps to go when we cross the line this time by. Scott Gamble now in the lead. Will now compress the field right up once again. Unfortunately, Brenton O'Brien will be out of the race. Race control will be very, very busy. You can hear constant calls into him, questions about virtual safety cars and incidents. So, look, I don't admire race control after this race. It's going to be a long, long night and a couple of days to try and go through everything. Here's the RaceKraft replay of Brendan O'Brien. Jeff Thomas spun in the background. Looks like a separate incident. Brendan O'Brien. Oh, that was Kirby into the back of him.
Kirby.
It looks like O'Brien actually had massive damage before that, but I think that hit in the wall just finished him off. Was Kirby potentially potential connection issue potentially for O'Brien? And at least on Kirby's end, on our end, looks like O'Brien technical issue, and Kirby really could do nothing more if that was the case.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that's something for race control to look at. But there was a crash up ahead that checked everybody up. It was a spin there for Jeff Thomas, and I think O'Brien reacted to that by lifting off. He might have started having his tech issues at the exact same time. Unfortunately, Brenton popped back in at the exact time that David Kirby was coming through.
There is a lot of discussion going on between drivers and race control. I've got my volume turned down, so I can't hear it too much, but a lot of discussion between drivers and race control amongst incidents, virtual safety car, the whole lot. So, like I said, do not want to be race control for this race because there's so much to unpack, Reese. Great job to those guys and credit to them. Give them a shout out because, they're going to be hard at work for them tonight and the next few days. Yeah,
definitely. Lots of knots to untie and the like. I just want to say something, Brady. This is my third broadcast today. I've got to commentate a Super Formula League in the morning, and my throat is shot after after what we've had of this race so far. I mean, we've still got an incredible, what I hope to be an incredible finish coming up here, as the VSC should be ending pretty soon now that the track has been cleared. I'm just wondering if I'm even going to have a voice by the end of this.
Yeah, look, I'm glad we're on a long weekend, Reese, and I got the day off tomorrow so I can recover after this because, man, the adrenaline's running high, but the voice will not be liking it tomorrow. But, I mean, it's worth it in my opinion because this racing's absolutely remarkable tonight. Yes, there has been 5 virtual safety cars, which obviously is not ideal, but, I mean, it's probably to be expected this type of racetrack. I don't think a league has ever raced at Le Mans in a V8 supercar, not that I've ever seen or heard of. So it's something new, but I mean, the racing and the strategy and everything's just been, again, off tap. That's just going to be my new nickname, off tap. I've said it that many times tonight, but yeah, it's absolutely crazy. It's definitely worth the sore voice tomorrow because, yeah, it's been absolutely crazy and we still got another 4 laps to go. 3 laps to go, sorry. 3 laps to go.
Yeah, 3 laps at the line when racing eventually resumes. Well, now that Scott Gamble has made his way up to the race lead, I'm sure he'll be focusing on getting as much of a gap as he can, much like Darren Lobb did earlier on in the night. Speaking of Darren Lobb, where is he? He's a long way down the field. There he is, down in 15th place. Well, that's could be worse. Could be worse for Darren Lobb. And I think the amount of slipstream he's going to be getting from everyone ahead of him, there's a lot of potential for him to at least be knocking on the door of the top 10 by the end of this.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely could have been worse. Definitely with the incident that he was in, but I mean, you'd be frustrated because now Gamble's leading and he was in front of Gamble when that incident happened, so he could be on for the win if that wasn't the case. And looks like we're not far away from going green, and we're going green this time by Reese. 3 laps remaining in this epic race.
Nail the exit from the Ford chicane and begin the 3rd last lap here of RaceKraft V8 Vets at Le Mans. The 5th restart of this race. Scotty Gamble already pounding out the time and hoping that David Nash and Stephen Varga get involved somehow and slow each other up. David Nash with a little bit of oversteer on the exit of Dunlop. Jamie McKnight still fighting, this time with Blake Delaney, who now holds the title of most positions gained in the entire field. Could Ricky Hyde have anything to say about that a bit further back? This is very interesting. Keep an eye on Dan Hall as well in the 4.62. He's chasing down Chris Miller. Gets a slightly better exit, does Miller, from Tetra Rouge, one of the most difficult corners on the track for my money. And have a look at this. Here comes Varga. This is going to be the move for second place. He's got momentum on David Nash. A little bit of side draft too, but Nash is going to come back at him here on the way into the braking zone. He's got the inside. Is he going to yield this late in the race? He's going to lock up a bit and try to force the issue, but Varga, supremely smooth and under control, moves straight through.
And bad exit there from David Nash. Has he got a slowdown? He does. He's got to slow down David Nash, so that puts Chris Miller into third. That lets Dan Hall pass, and that will close the gap to Blake Delaney as well. Looks like he's just coming up to speed now, David Nash. So unfortunately, he's dropped back to position number 5, but now that releases Scotty Gamble 1.5 seconds in front of Stephen Varga. If Varga can close the gap, potentially get into that draft, he still could be within half a chance of potentially challenging Gamble for the win, but now we have to watch Miller and Hall as well, fighting for this position number 2.
Miller and Hall have tyres that are a lap fresher than Stephen Varga's here. Now, it might not seem like much, but around a long circuit like Le Mans with so many high-load corners, it can make a difference. It's worth about 2 laps, maybe even 3, around the circuits these cars conventionally race on. So that explains why Varga is rapidly losing time here to Chris Miller and Dan Hall. David Nash will be hoping that he can at least stay in the slipstream and get involved if these guys come together, if they have a clean battle, no matter what. Just need to make sure that you're there and have your eyes on stalks as you make your way around the French countryside.
Well, if these two start battling between Miller and also Stephen Varga, this is going to allow Scott Gamble to pull away. Here comes Miller, looking down the inside, won't get it there. As you see on screen, Miller and Hall, 1 lap fresher tyres than Stephen Varga, who pitted on lap number 2. And remember, he started way down the field, Varga 33rd, now in position number 2. He's still holding off Chris Miller. This will allow Gamble to pull away, but the gap's actually closed down at 10th since that first chicane, so potentially a little bit of a slipstream from Gamble to Varga, keeping him within distance at the moment. But the real battle on screen is for second here between Varga, Miller, Hall, and even David Nash is closing as well. He's not out of it either.
This is such an intense fight. Miller a bit more aggressive on the way into the Porsche curves. Can he keep that momentum up is the big question. Varga, it seems, has been very strong on the exits through these fast corners. All the same, you keep thinking it's only a matter of time before the move is made. Scott Gamble is driving away from these guys at the front. The gap's up to 1.7, even 1.8 seconds. This is incredible. Coming up to the penultimate lap here. There's barely been a single mistake from Gamble all race long. The only things that have put him back are his own tech issues.
Well, you see through that last sector, he's pulled nearly 0.8 of a second through that last technical sector. So on the straights, when Varga, can stay in that slipstream, he can maintain the gap with Gamble. Then Gamble pulls away. So at the moment, I'd say Gamble's pretty safe unless he makes a mistake. So the real battle, like I said, is on for P2. Now here comes David Nash. He's now on the back of Daniel Hall. That is for position number 4 on the road. Not far behind them is Blake Delaney as well. He's up 34 positions, Blake Delaney. He's in position number 6, and he's within touching distance of the top 5.
Blake Delaney is on an absolute charge right now, isn't he? And with the cars ahead of him as compressed as they are, they'll be slowing each other up through the corners. This is where Delaney will lose out a bit here on the straights. All of these guys will be slipstreaming off each other, but look for him around the back half of the circuit when these guys are stumbling over each other, trying to stake a claim for the second spot on the podium. Big defense from Stephen Varga, but the speed is simply too great for Chris Miller. Is he going to be able to pull it up? He is. Has to yield, but Varga a bit compromised here on the exit. Can he hold on?
Varga hanging on for the moment, but now Miller will have the inside and the side draft to get potentially a move done at the second chicane. They're side by side. Looks like Miller's creeping in front. Will Varga try and outbrake him like he did with David Nash earlier on? Here comes Hall, and here comes, we're nearly 3 wide into the second chicane. Nash on the outside, trying to get the move done. Varga has a slip up. He got through the chicane. There goes Steven Varga. He's going to be out of this battle. He comes through. He's going to have a slowdown. Careful on the rejoin, Vargs. He comes out. He's going to be out of it. Now Dan Hall into third, in behind Chris Miller. Here comes David Nash. Blake Delaney right in it as well. Varga's dropped down to position number 6. We've got a car slowing. It's Scotty Van Loon. He's letting the field by. I thought we might have had another virtual safety car, but still battling Nash down the inside of Dan Hall. Miller runs wide. Here comes David Nash back to second again. This is wild race.
Yeah, this is absolutely wild, and you know who all of this is benefiting? Scott Gamble. He's just driving away from them once again. The gap for the lead is out to 4.5 seconds. Now Nash holds on to second place, but Dan Hall could have something to say about that as they come in to Indianapolis side by side. Look at Blake Delaney. Here he comes, a little bit of a bump between Miller and Nash. Up the inside. Dan Hall makes contact with Dave Nash. He pulls it up, keeps it out of the wall, but he's out of the battle for the podium.
Hall's off the track as well, so he's lost second now. Miller into second place, delaying the third. Oh, here we go again. Vargs and Hall go at it once again. Blake Delaney from 40th to 3rd. Oh, race, I can't believe it. This is wild.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what's going through Blake Delaney's head right now. This is absolutely insane. He could be having a run at second place here. Chris Miller, after being involved in all of that, will be a little flustered.
He will be raced, but like you touched on, Scott Gamble now 5.6 seconds up the road. He's doing it comfortably. He can cruise on this lap, but now the battle's still on between the two teammates. I don't think he'll get too feisty for this battle for P number 2. It'll still be happening for 4th on back. Varga now back up to 4th after that mistaken slowdown. With all that happened with Nash and Hall at the Indianapolis corner, they're back to 5th and 6th. Troy Stone Street's now buying into it in 7th. McKnight as well in 8th. Lob to 9th now. He restarted 16th, back up to 9th. We said the top 10 was on the cards. He's in that top 10. White flag for Scott Gamble.
Yep, white flag in for the number 5, 4-3. And it is all on wherever you look. Absolute chaos happening here in these final few laps at Le Mans. I can't wait to see how the finish ends up for all of these drivers. Yep, Nash with a little bit of an oversteer moment here. Dan Hall versus Steven Varga for 4th place. Meanwhile, I can't believe the comeback that Varga's had in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, Varga was right up there and obviously made the mistake last lap. I thought he was down and out of the race, but with that contact between Hall and Nash, both them run off the road, that led Varga straight back through. But Dan Hall's going to have an absolute monster run down this first straight. It looks like Miller might be safe from his teammate Delaney. Delaney's following him down the straight. Now Hall and Varga side by side. Looks like Hall will push ahead, coming to the braking zone. 307 kilometers an hour for Daniel Hall. He'll outbrake Steven Varga into the first chicane. We'll get position number 4. Delaney a little bit closer now to his teammate Chris Miller in the bright pink Fishy Motorsports Mustang. Will Delaney have a go at the second chicane, or will he save it until the Mossung corner at turn number 15?
Let's see then. Big slipstream for Blake Delaney, but he doesn't pull out. He gives Miller a bump draft on the way down to the second chicane.
Maybe a bit of
He does it.
Maybe that's a bit of insurance between the two teammates. Delaney has a bit of a wobble on the entry there to the second chicane. He might be helping his teammate out so they can try and stay clear of the fast-charging Daniel Hall to ensure a Fishy Motorsports 2-3 in this race, potentially, Reese. It's all happening on the second half of this last lap.
Absolutely is. Darren Lobb, meanwhile, has made his way into the top 10. Can he make a move on Troy Stone Street and David Nash? Nash is a little bit further up the road. Lobb is, oh my God, that's Rick Zebra. Oh, that is hard into the gravel trap. He's going to keep it out of the barriers, but that's a massive adventure for Rick Sebra right at the end of this race. Ken Latta is dropping positions. It looks like he's had a problem at the same corner.
Here comes Hall.
Yep, here he comes.
Dan Hall, look at the slipstream he's getting.
Where did he come from?
Look at it side by side. They're nearly going to be 3 wide into the corner. Oh, no contact. Will he stay down the inside? He's going to give room to Delaney. Oh, runs it
Delaney.
They keep it on the road. Delaney can pop down the inside. Here comes Varga again. Delaney
Lordy.
down the inside. Oh, there's contact there as well. Eye for an eye, I say. Delaney moves him back out of the way. Fair bump play on, boys. They'll allow Varga back into it. Now Lob. He's into 7th, battling Nash for 6th. What a recovery from Lob. But can Dan Hall steal the last place on the podium from Blake Delaney? If Delaney can keep him safe here, he should be okay. Side by side into the Porsche curves. Oh, Delaney nearly runs wide into Hall. They stay out of each other's doors. I think Delaney might be okay here. No mistakes from here on out. Scott Gable, he's run away with it. Miller, comfortable in 2nd. Here comes Hall once again on the back of Blake Delaney. Here comes Varga. He's not out of it either. The fight for 3rd is absolutely off tap once again. Scotty Gable coming through the final 2 Ford chicanes. He's going to take victory here at Le Mans. Chris Miller comfortable in 2nd at the moment, but it looks like Delaney, one more chicane to come. He's going to be safe. Gable takes the victory. Miller 2nd, and Blake Delaney 40th to 3rd. What a drive. What a race.
Jesus H. Christmas. What did we just watch? That is crazy. Big drama at the back we're hearing. There's been some shuffling all over the place. I mean, every part of that race, no matter where a driver was in the field, that was just enthralling. That's some of the best V8 action I've seen in years. That was incredible from start to finish. And what a comeback from Scott Gamble. A couple of laps in, we were thinking he was out of the race. He dropped from the server, but he's come back and won.
From memory, Reece, he was about 40th when he rejoined the race. 40th.
Yeah.
I know that's where Blake Delaney started, but Delaney also had issues. Remember, he had massive damage and was involved in an early incident. I don't think Chris Miller had too many issues throughout the race. He started position number 3. So he pretty much maintained his spot the whole race. But, wow. So Scotty Gamble for 9.5 wins it by 7.5 seconds from dropping from the server, 40th about lap 3, wins the race. I can't comprehend it, Reece. Chris Miller 2nd, Blake Delaney 40th on the grid to 3rd, Dan Hall 4th, Stephen Varga 33rd to 5th, Darren Lobb very unlucky getting caught in that incident with Jason Spriggs. Potentially he could have been the race winner tonight. He recovers to 6th, David Nash 7th, Troy Stonestreet in 8th, McKnight 9th, Luke Grundell after taking that late pit stop, he recovers to top 10. We'll go through 11th to 20th. Robert Griffiths in 11th. Ricky Hyde, 44th to 12th. So that's plus 32. Not quite as much as Delaney, but still a mega drive for Ricky Hyde. Stewie Hall, remember, his drama's early in the race. He still collects points in 13th. Dean Flavell, 14th. Chris Blanchard, 15th. Robert Crusdale in 16th. Matt Vanderkray, remember, we thought he was the guy in the box seat. Fortunately, he had dramas. He recovers still to 17th. Paul Warwick, remember at one stage we thought he was in the box seat race. He finishes 18th. Michael Whiting 19th. And Michael Stewart ran in the top 20s. Just absolutely crazy.
Chad Lewis, meanwhile, someone that we saw competing up and around the top 10, has to settle for 21st with Damien Cairns, another driver that we thought was going to be in that top group, ultimately had to pit again, has to settle for 22nd place. Scott McCune makes up 7 spots to 23rd, Greg Sharp losing 9 spots to 24th, Ken Latta, it was a massive up and down race for him. We thought that he could be part of the podium group, but he suffered a lot of problems in the second half half of the race and only gains 3 spots in the end. Rick Sebra, a penalty, and much more besides on the way to 26th position from 32nd. Craig Friend, Dave Kirby, Scott Mackay, and Jeff Thomas rounding out the top 30. And Jeff Thomas really stings because he started 4th. Chad Vigor finishes in 31st place. John Latham getting spun around under virtual safety car. Just one of many issues that he had on his way to 32nd place. Darren Goosey up 4 spots. Damien Cross losing 9 once again. Jason Spriggs 35th with Fewens, Fisher, Burns, Hunt, and O'Brien, the last finishers on the lead lap. Brenton O'Brien managed to get going again. Matt Scholes is going to be 2 laps down, classified 41st. Scotty Van Loon, 5 laps down. And I think that might just be on the cusp of being classified for points, but we won't see that for Mark Poynton and Michael Quain, who both solidly retired from this race. So, Brady, I have a proposal. Can we just give the Driver of the Day award to the entirety of the top 9?
I'm not against it. I'm just having a look through the replay now. So on lap 11, Chris Miller was down in 31st. So he was still way down the order. And to still recover to second, even though he started 3rd, I think nearly every driver had some sort of drama tonight. And it just depended how they recovered from it. And kudos to the top 3 to get to where they were. I don't think that's honestly easily the best race I've ever commentated, just with how much action, the strategy, the comebacks, the fightbacks, just, yeah, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, absolutely insane. We do have to decide on one Driver of the Day, though, and we will bring you that in a few moments' time after we talk to our race winner, Scott Gamble. And it has just been decided, Scott, we've decided to give you the Driver of the Day award, along with that race victory for that incredible comeback drive. Did you think it was over in the first few laps?
Yeah, mate, I did. It was a real shame. I was having a little bit of internet. I seen it started blinking, and yeah, we dropped out, and then luckily for us at that time, mate, it was there was a virtual safety car. So when we rejoined, we actually rejoined on the lead lap in P35, so it gave us a chance.
It certainly did. Plenty of virtual safety cars over the course of this race, and that obviously defined how your strategy was going forward. I suppose you were just focusing on just getting a position at a time, setting yourself up for that final stint.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was another virtual safety car, so we came in and filled the car up. Like, we had 111 litres on board, and then our next stop, we only had to take 30 odd litres, so it sort of worked out all right in the end. But yeah, shame to the guys and the way it went, but that's just the way it rolls, I guess. There's not much I can do about it.
Well, you are the Chubby Buns Driver of the Day, and that must feel good after the poor fortunes that you had at the very start of the race.
Oh wow, yeah, thank you very much, guys. Yeah, it was good to get the win, but yeah, and well done to the other guys, Funky and Delaney, who P2, P3, they drove well, and it really mixed it up, didn't it? Like, there was a whole bunch of drivers right in the mix, so it was really good to see.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the Driver of the Day vote was incredibly close, and if we were able to, I think we would have given it to all 3 of you guys, let alone the rest of the top 10, because that was a very tough race for all of you out there. Is there anyone that you'd like to thank for your victory before we let you go, Gamble?
Yeah, big shout out to 95 Sim Sports, the sponsors there. They get on board with RaceKraft, Turn-In Apparel, SW Graphics, Racing Ears, and Prestige Cinematography. Shout out to you guys on SimSpeed. Thank you very much for the broadcast. To the drivers out there, it was a tough night like we talked about, but I mean, it's still fun. There's no point getting all hot about it. We had a good time, we raced, and yeah, there's always next week. So thank you very much, and yeah, see you maybe, hopefully, another time.
Indeed. Hopefully get a chance to talk to you after Phillip Island next week. That's Scott Gamble, the race winner here at Le Mans. Next up, of course, Brady, another one of the drivers that we had no idea was going to be in this spot. You're with Chris Miller.
Chris Miller, first off, congratulations on P2. Secondly, what the hell was that race? That was, me and Reese could not contain ourselves with that race. That was absolutely off tap. Tell us your thoughts about it.
Yeah, no, I don't know what to say, to be honest. It was eventful, I'll say. I'm not sure how else to put it. Like the safety car restarts, that was interesting, and look, race control did a great job. There was a little bit of carry on to him, but it was tough. It was tough for everyone. I didn't really understand what the hell was going on, and we were talking each other through it in the team. But yeah, it was crazy. And I mean, the track is interesting for us, but it led to some really good battles. Like you just couldn't break someone's toe. And yeah, the battling was hard. It was intense, and that, especially that last couple of laps, it was crazy. There was 4 or 5 of us all battling away and bashing doors, and I suppose having a good time. Yeah, it's crazy.
I looked back through, and on lap number 11, you were down in 32nd, and you somehow finished second, just with all the craziness of this race. Bit of a mixed up finishing order as well. Yeah, just so much to unpack from that race. From obviously, we were thinking, what are you guys thinking of it all? Because we couldn't contain ourselves that whole race. It was just absolutely off tap. I don't think anything can ever top that.
No, it was something, I don't know. Having done it, it was now in understanding how, the difficulties with safety cars and stuff. Look, would I race here again? Yeah. It was fun. It was, you just couldn't, like if someone got away, you'd grab them down a straight and you're back within 0.5, But yeah, I know when I pit, because I didn't pit that first safety car, and then I was saying to the boys, I think I've made a mistake because everyone else pitted behind me, and again, not thinking about the safety cars, because essentially you're only doing half a lap, a third of a lap, and then you go on green again. So traditionally you would, you'd pit and everyone else would be pitting, or it'd be a safety car, everyone else would be pitting under a safety car, and it would hold the field up a bit. But it seemed to be, it was a bit of a, I don't know, strategy wise, probably, like you're saying, a little bit to unpack and figure out how to do it properly. But hey, like I said, I know Blake and I were talking. We were right at the back. Yeah, like you say, after about lap 11, and I actually said, I'm going camping tomorrow. And I said I should just turn the sim off and go load the camper trailer. Because I thought we're over and done with. But obviously the craziness of those last 3 or 4 laps, people hitting, and yeah, it was nuts.
Well, it's never over till it's over. That's probably one thing I learned from tonight. Obviously, Scotty dropped out of the server and he comes from the win. You had your troubles down the order mid-race and come to second. Obviously, your teammate started 40th, had troubles at the start, and he worked his way to third. So, fantastic job from all you guys. Obviously, next week we head to a very much traditional circuit in the V8. We head to Phillip Island for the next round. So, what are your thoughts heading to that? Probably a week to recover after this race, I imagine.
Phillip Island, yeah. Is that where we are next week? Is it Phillip Island?
That's what I've been told, yeah.
Look, I like Phillip Island. It's a good track. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I suppose getting back to some resemblance and normality would be good too after this week. What they should do is roll Nordschleife after this. And that would just, everyone have to go and up their meds by 500 milligrams.
I think me and Reese will second that comment as well.
Throw Mount Washington in there too.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, but look, it was a good experience, and yeah, it was fun. Hopefully, it was for you boys too watching. I wasn't sure how the broadcast was going to go, to be honest.
You'll probably hear me and Reese screaming quite a lot because it was absolutely wild. But before we let you go, Chris, congratulations once again on your second place. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Look, first and foremost, has to go to Race Control. He had an absolute peach of a night, I'd say. And to be honest, I blame Coleman for going away and just left him in the lurch. That's pretty poor form from him. But obviously the Fishy team, all the boys at Fishy, and obviously Blake helping me out through that race as well with updrafting, which was awesome. The sponsors, and I'm trying to find the sponsor list. I can't find it now. I'm going to get this wrong, but Blake will fix it up. Battery Warehouse, Ellie Beach, Infinity Designs, DC Shades, MJS Gaming, West End Motor Group, and to be quite frank, I can't remember the rest of them because they've moved all the Discord around, so I don't know where they've put them.
That's right, Blake can make it up for you. But yeah, congratulations once again, Chris, and enjoy the long weekend. You'll probably need it after tonight.
Absolutely going off grid, turning the phone off.
Congratulations once again, Chris. Hopefully talk to you again soon.
Thanks, boys. See ya.
Reece, that was second place Chris Miller. I believe you've caught up with our hard charger of the night as well. 40th to 3rd at the finish. I think you're standing by with Blake Delaney.
I am indeed. Man, Blake, what a race that was. I mean, we've already talked about it at length with Scotty and Chris, but goodness me. How do you feel about standing on the podium after starting 40th?
Oh, I think it's a bit odd, to be brutally honest. I mean, the guys did the job that they possibly could do in the race control booth. I reckon a massive shout out needs to go to those boys. They controlled as much as they could control and did what they could do with the rules that they had. And there was a few challenges there. It was pretty clear that there was a few mistakes. But Paul Warwick, I think, was robbed of victory tonight quite considerably without those safety cars coming out at the end. He had to make a green flag pit stop, which made it really difficult for him to get back. But at the same time, it provided Funky with a second, which is awesome to see Chris Miller getting up there. And I was just happy that I could hold off the hard charging Dan Hall at the end then.
Yeah, speaking of hard charging, and you're battling with Dan Hall and many other people besides, how did you find this track? How does it suit the V8? Because it is a bit of an oddball choice of circuit for these cars, but it ended up making the racing incredibly intense.
Oh, it was awesome. I was even saying it before the race. To be honest, I didn't put a lap in at all other than in practice. I did one clean lap. Had no time to practice this week, but the guys certainly in the Discord channel were saying that, I mean, it's tough for a V8 supercar, but that's what you want. You want a bit of a change, a bit of fun. It's not like something that you see normally on the broadcasts. I'm sure that made for good racing and good viewing. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think after the conclusion of that race, I'm for it as well, though maybe only an every so often thing, because, I mean, you know, considering all of the foibles around the VSC, the special requirements we had to have in race control for this race, it probably wouldn't work as a regular round.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that you guys were sitting on the edge of your seats there. You probably got, you know, sore throats after trying to call that race. You'd be absolutely having a blast. So I reckon that the people watching would have absolutely loved it. So I'm all for it. I mean, the guys in the committee that have selected that have done a really good job. There's another couple of races that are a bit different later on in the year as well. So why not? Why not mix it up a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I certainly don't regret Le Mans being chosen for this season of V8 Veterans, and I had so much fun. I'm just thinking about the health of my vocal cords, if anything else, you know. If we got to do this a few times a year, I will not have a voice at all. But back to you, Blake. Honestly, a third place in round two, certainly a very high note here to start off the season. What are you thinking about future rounds? Phillip Island, obviously, next. Chris said that he was looking forward to it. What about you?
Yeah, Phillip Island's a shocker for me, but a lot of the boys love Phillip Island. I love it in real life. I'm just horrible at it online, unfortunately. But let me tell you, like, I'm as pumped as ever to be racing. Certainly with these boys, there's a heap of guys that we have a lot of fun with. So, mate, bring on next week. Hopefully, I can get a bit of practice in over the 4-day break over Easter, which should be good. But yeah. Should be awesome at Phillip Island, high speed, similar to this. Bring back a bit of drafting and a bit of sore vocal cords for you boys.
Yeah, indeed. Well, is there anyone that you'd like to thank before we let you go, Blake? Congratulations once again on the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Look, again, just a quick shout out to the Fishy boys. Certainly the boys that were up the front that got a little bit disheartened by a safety car or dropped back as a non-safety car was called. They did a terrific job. Paulie Warwick getting to the front. He should have had a victory tonight. Big shout out to Western Motor Group, Parramatta Peugeot Professional, Parramatta City Great Wall, Western Mazda Parramatta, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Battery Warehouse, Early Beach, Infinity Designs, DC Shades, and Precision Sim Training.
That's Blake Delaney there from Fishy Motorsports, third place here at Le Mans for round 2 of V8 Veterans Season 19, presented by RaceKraft Simulations. Of course, Phillip Island is next week. Brady and I will not be here for that. We'll have a different commentary crew in for Phillip Island. But man, after that race, Brady, I can't wait to get back into it.
Yeah, me either. I'm keen to get back in with you, Reese, on our weeks off that we can jump in. And yeah, if it's anything like tonight, I don't think anything will ever top tonight, to be quite honest. Like I said during the podcast, most races that I've commentated vets on have been pretty wild and pretty intense, and tonight just turned it up a whole nother level. So looking forward to the next time we can jump in the booth together and call one of these races.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we want to thank you all for watching, whether you're live or on video on demand. We hope you enjoyed that show, because Brady and I certainly did, and I think Dan Yeaman will join us in that as well. A big thanks to the series sponsors for everything that you do, and also the organization crew at V8 Vets, Scott Rankin as well, who's the steward for this round, putting in a lot of hard work to keep everything under control. Here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick, I'm Reese Gardner, Brady Baldwin alongside me, Dan Yeaman, pushing all the buttons behind the scenes. We'll see you next week for the RaceKraft V8 Vets Championship.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.